known for her performative fiber installations and placemaking projects. Mattix has a BFA from Western Washington University in drawing and an MFA from San Francisco Art Institute in painting and film. Mattix is included in the forthcoming 2017 Bellingham National Juried Exhibition at the Whatcom Museum. She's part of a traveling exhibit, My Mother the Sea, curated by Chicago artist Tim Maloley. Mattix taught modern and contemporary art survey at Western Washington University, and she was an artist resident at the James and Janie Washington Foundation in Seattle. Mattix curated The Art of Disappearing, a series of performance instructions for Swedish artist Jacob Dahlgren in 2015. She is currently guest curator of the Performance of Place, a multi-sensory group show opening June 18th at Shoreline City Hall that focuses on human interaction with place. Please help me welcome Christen Mattix.
Okay, here we go. Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming out on this beautiful sunny day for a slideshow. My name is Christen, and today I want to tell you about my project for Longing, which started when I was sitting on a bench one day on South Hill in Bellingham, looking down at the beautiful Bellingham Bay, and suddenly this idea popped into my head to knit a rope to connect the bench to the bay. So that was the genesis of the project. I chose ocean yarn. I don't think you can see the color, but it's actually ocean blue. And I conceptualized the piece as a kind of urban drawing, which I documented in a whole bunch of different photographs. It was also a way to embellish the sidewalk. What I did was I knit every day from like May until it got too cold to knit, like November 1. Outside at this bench, and I always unwound the rope across the road and stretched it out as far as it would go. So it was kind of about measuring time, place, and creating connection. The rope as a metaphor for connection. What this project did for me was it forced me to slow down dramatically. I thought it was going to take me a month, maybe a summer at the most. Well, haha, it took me 3.5 years to knit half a mile. And so what happened to me was that I became incredibly aware of my environment, of the cycle of the season, the passage of time. I mean, if you're knitting for an hour, you become very aware of time, how slow it goes. And I was measuring my progress in inches, you know. So these two slides show the same house, but here it's olive green. The previous slide it was white, and the weather has changed. The rhododendron is in bloom here. In the previous slide it wasn't. And these are the kinds of subtle changes to my environment, to place, that I was observing through this project. But the biggest transformation for me was the opportunity to connect with people. So when I started this project, I was a hermit. I was an artist. I worked in my studio, and I really had very few friends. I had just moved to Bellingham. I was basically unemployed, and this project opened me up to a whole new world of people. And I met so many adorable, quirky people through this project. This is Herb and Mary, and they brought a collapsible picnic table and spread out a picnic at the bench, with wine and baguettes and olives and salami, like the list goes on. This is Dharma and Maya. I kid you not, they were identical twins who showed up one day and helped me wind up my hose reel. So the line got so long eventually, like by the second year, I couldn't even lift it anymore. At first it was in a ball, and then I put it on another hose reel, and then eventually I had to get this industrial hose reel because I couldn't haul it. There were also some challenges, like the weather. So I knit regardless of the weather. One time I knit in a thunderstorm. I had to get some serious rain gear. Another challenge was that this lawn edger got a hold of my knit line, got all tangled up one time, but thankfully it didn't rip. The really bad one was in like 2015, I was knitting and suddenly my line started to jerk away from me and I was like, what's going on? And I started running downhill attached to my knitting needles, and the street sweeper was driving down the hill and it had my knit line stuck in the bristles. And there was nothing I could do. The driver was totally oblivious and the engine was so loud, so I just kind of dropped the needles and stood there and watched, and it spat my line out and it was torn totally in two. So I had to stitch it back together. So in August 2015, I had the final closing celebration. So I started in 2012, and by 2015 I knew so many people, and I invited everyone to come and help me unwind the knit line. And really for me, I had realized at this point that I was knitting the community together and I was knitting myself into community, and the people were the art. The knitting was kind of the structure that created this incredible event of community. So we walked the knit line all the way down to the water, and then I put the end of it in the water, and it just kind of lay there like a limp worm. Like, it was very anticlimactic, you know? Like, wow, I spent 3.5 years for this. But then all of a sudden we heard this huge splash, and my dad had stripped down to his shorts and jumped in the water and was swimming the rope out into the sunset. And someone in the group started yelling, "Hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray." The floating dock started to rock really violently, like, because we were all so excited. But I had overshot the distance by about 20 feet. So this just shows more of my neighbors and friends helping to wind the hose reel back up. It's about a half-hour job to do from 10th up to 16th where the bench is. So it's a pretty hefty deal. And again, it was a way to bring people together and connect people. At a certain point, the rope got really tangled up, so then everyone kind of came together and brainstormed how to untangle it. Like, it's totally absurd, right? But it's so beautiful how it brought people together. So that was the first incarnation or life cycle of the project. The second was the exhibit that I created at Social Fabric downtown Bellingham. So on the anniversary of the line reaching the bay, I made this show, and it had video and it had a big display in the window. And the third cycle of this project is the book that I will be self-publishing in October called Skein. And it's a really heartwarming story of the neighborhood that I came to know and how I found my identity as an artist in community. So, thank you.